Our first keynote address will be from Simon Johnson. Simon started his career at GSWA mapping the Capricorn origin. He has been our chief geoscientist, and his current role is Director of Geoscience, a role which is responsible for shaping the future of geoscience in the state, and that's exactly what he's here to talk to you about today.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the country that we meet today and pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. So I'd like to talk about shaping direction of geoscience at GSWA. And I'd actually like to start by talking about this concept of whether a person or an organisation is a live organisation. And the opposite to that is a dead organisation. And so what are we talking about when we talk about live organisations? Well, these are the organisations, the companies, the businesses that are right at the front. They are the ones which are pushing the boundaries of what they do. They are, could be multi-million-dollar companies like Apple pushing the boundaries, creating new technology and everything else. And those companies generally are tightly coordinated, but they're flexible and they're responsive. And of course, they've got this very, very strong knowledge base. So from that, those companies are able to adapt new technology. They're able to adopt what they do very quickly. And they have the ability to do things that they've never done before. And that's what keeps them at the front. That's what keeps them leading, right? And so the other thing is they are able to, because of that flexibility, they can react quickly to emerging issues, which means that they become leaders rather than followers. And so the last one on the list I've got as being sort of self-fulfilling. And what that means is if you're at the forefront and you've got, you're really pushing the boundaries and everyone looks at you and says, oh, I want to go and work for them, then it means you've got the choice of the best staff. And when you're at the front, people throw money at you to do more. When you've got more money and you've got the best staff, that again pushes you forward to become a world leading and keep you at the front. But it's actually, you've got to keep a really careful eye on this because it's actually really, it doesn't take much to turn a live organisation into a dead one. When, you fall a little bit behind, you don't react to something quick enough, suddenly you're no longer being viewed as being leading, but you're a follower. You lose your knowledge base because staff disappear, they move companies. So this is something that leadership teams in every company have to think about on a really regular basis. And we kind of do anyway. We kind of think, oh, what's the next thing? Where should we be going? What should we be doing? But it's something really cognitive that we all have to pay attention to. And being in government is not really like being in Apple. We're like a big container ship that takes weeks, months to actually turn around and go in a completely different direction. So this is something that we, have to plan for in terms of long-term sort of strategic policy. And we started doing that. As you'll be aware from maybe a couple of open days ago, we've developed our Unearthing Western Australia 2030 strategy, and that's really around telling everybody and telling our organisation is what does the Geological Survey do? What is it that we should be doing? Where should we be going? And how should we be doing that? And within that, we identified 4 pillars of the things that we should be doing. One was around our data. One was around our geoscience strategy, the third one was around our staff, and the fourth one was about our trusted information. So you can see on there that we've actually done some of that work already. We've created our geoscience transformation strategy and our geoscience strategy, which basically lays around the rules of where we want to be and how we want to get there. And so we're in that third pillar now, which is strengthening our team. It's about making sure that as an organisation we're actually tightly coordinated and that we're flexible and we're able to adopt and adapt. And so it comes in sort of several flavours. It's about, because we are, Geological Survey of Western Australia is a bit of a scientific organisation, it is about the science we do, but it's about the science leadership that we have as well. But also, it's about our staff. If we want to become tightly coordinated, we need to make that coordination across those three areas. So in terms of the science and the leadership, we really need to align and strengthen our core business. and provide focus and direction. What we don't want is have 20, 30 of our best geoscientific staff all working on their own, doing their own little things in separate directions. We want to provide a focus, a really big overall plan which everybody can work towards together. Everybody provides their skill set into a bigger, holistic sort of project. So that's where the coordination comes from. So if we do that and we all start working together as an organisation, which we kind of do anyway, but the idea is just to make that more formalised and really align and tighten everything that we do, then we increase our value. We do begin to retain that relevancy, and we keep that live sort of connotation of our organisation. But it's also about the staff, right? If the staff know how they contribute or how they can contribute to an overall bigger picture, then it gives staff more well-being. They know how they can contribute. They know what their contribution is. But equally, we want people working outside their field. People might say, well, I'm a structural geologist, but actually, I think I can contribute to something else. And I can do that if I was to get a bit more Python scripting. I can do a little bit, but I don't really know how to do it to a greater extent. Well, that's where the professional development comes in. And so we want to provide our staff with opportunities to be fluid, to not only do their business as usual, but also contribute in areas that they think that they can contribute and develop their professional expertise. And then the other thing at the moment is we have this really top-heavy management where our best scientists are actually managing the most people. And so our best scientists have less opportunity to do science because they're managing more people. So the idea is to try in the next year or two is to make that management responsibility go through everybody. So make the structure a little bit more tiered, and then everybody manages a couple of people, let's say, and everybody has an equal opportunity to do the science. So if we manage to do all those things, we have a staff who have a lot of well-being. We also develop a succession planning for people when they leave. It's only natural. People leave organisations, people retire, and we have to think about who's going to fill those next steps. And it leads basically to a stronger, strengthened team, highly coordinated, adaptable, able to adopt new things and do different things. And I threw this one in here because this is really where we get maybe into some of the science, and I think everybody in this room knows what a geological survey is. Our remit is to de-risk exploration as one part and increase investment in the resources sector in the state. And we do that by collecting pre-competitive geoscience data. And we do that in a mineral systems context. This is a very Australian thing. I was at the MinEx CRC conference yesterday and the day before, and we talked very much a lot about mineral systems, and it's a very Australian concept. It was designed and developed in Australia, and I think if you go outside of Australia, not many people might be talking about mineral systems concept, but I'm sure everybody in this room does understand that. So when you look at that figure on the right-hand side, the geological survey, because of our remit, because of what we do and the ability that we have, our best use for you is to collect the geoscience data sets that are on the craton to province to district type scale. We can cross tenement boundaries. We can have projects that run for 5, 10 years to actually collect that geoscience data. Universities have timescales much shorter, 3-year funding cycles. So there's a lot less that you can do in a university to provide some of these things. So as a geological survey, we want to understand the geology of the state and try to understand the mineral system concept and relate that back to the geology. And that's mostly done, as I say, from us at the province to craton to district scale. But it's absolutely important that we link across the entire mineral system. And so that narrowest portion, the bit where we actually get the mineralisation, the camp to deposit scale, is where we do collaboration. We collaborate with universities, industry, Mariwa, everybody. Anybody that wants to collaborate with us on those aspects, that's what we do. And that's where we try to tie in that information across the entire mineral system scale. So then we'll want to talk a little bit about rapidly changing geopolitical drivers. And when we were creating the 2030 strategy and even the Geoscience strategy, obviously there was talk about climate change. Critical minerals were a developing thing. And of course, alternative energy was in its infancy, and we were looking at renewable energy systems and things like that. Well, within a year or two, these things have absolutely skyrocketed. And, you know, we, as a geological survey organisation, as being a leading organisation, you know, we really have to address these issues. And, you know, critical minerals, I guess we're collecting data in this field, but what we've got to do is actually have these overarching priorities that speak to these bigger geopolitical drivers. And these are not state drivers. These are not national drivers. These are global drivers. And so, as a leading organisation, you have to comment. You have to be producing information and knowledge into these three fields. And so, moving forwards, sort of three overarching priorities for the Geological Survey will be around these three themes. It will be looking at materials critical for the energy transition. And below that I've got basically three little projects, I guess, that immediate things that we can start to talk about. So things like basin-hosted copper-based metal systems, lithium, rare earths, nickel, copper, vanadium, PGE systems, and of course mine waste, looking at new value in mine waste. These are some of the things that we need to be commenting on, producing data within. Carbon mitigation and geological storage. So we're already a year into redeveloping the CO2 storage atlas. We've got another year to go on that project, but that can't end there. This is not going to be finished. This is not finished business. This has to continue. We have to keep going. We have to make the CO2 atlas business as usual. And there I've also got mineral carbonation. That's another important aspect of geological storage which we can comment on. And then hydrogen's a future energy source. So again, whether we're talking about manufactured green hydrogen or whether we're looking at exploration for natural hydrogen, this is a field that the Geological Survey should and must be contributing to. And that's not just about where we put these things, because these renewable energy hubs are, you know, absolutely massive. And what we don't want to do is put a renewable energy hub on a tier 1 copper deposit. That would be, you know, crazy. So we've actually got to start looking at land use and de-risking and devaluing land to make sure that we're not putting these huge renewable energy hubs on top of major deposits. And then it's about storage of hydrogen and ammonia. We've got some of the best sedimentary basins which are very close to these potential renewable energy hubs. We've got to look at salt mapping, salt caverns. Are there places in the state where we can store millions of tonnes of liquid hydrogen or liquid ammonia for domestic use? So these are the three relatively priority areas that the survey should be looking at into the future. So how do we do it? Well, we just continue to do what we do best. This is what we're already doing. We're already collecting data. All the data that we collect is actually relevant for this. And, you know, we shouldn't change our business as usual either. This is what we're good at. This is what the 135 years of the Geological Survey have been built on. We are best at doing the things that we do, and we should continue to do that. But we need to make sure that we're coming together as a collective and that we're actually linking all this information across the entire mineral system. And the way that we do that is being by tightly coordinated, having these overarching projects. Staff can begin to see that, well, actually, I'm a structural geologist, and, you know, I can see how I can contribute by my mapping in the West Ilgan to finding the new Julimar, for example. So it's just a change in thinking and a coordination of the efforts that we do. So I've talked about linking across the entire scale of the mineral system. So that is looking at the whole lithosphere data sets, from the top of the regolith down to the base of the lithosphere. And we collect that data. We collect that data across the entire state. It's about how do we integrate those data sets into one holistic picture. And that's, again, about data integration across scale. And that's not just scale of top of the lithosphere to the base of the lithosphere to the top of the regolith. That's on the scale of the mineral system as well. That's from regional scale data sets down to deposit scale data sets. And what we aim to do from this is produce, industry-ready product. So yes, everybody loves the data, and the data will be there, the data will be free. You'll be able to take the data that we produce, put it into your own systems, combine it with your own data, and come to your own conclusions. But what we want to do is also produce this value-added, industry-ready product, like we did for the Accelerated Geoscience program. So how are we doing that? Well, we have this holistic geoscience package, and the Minister's already talked about the funding for this already, and some of the programs that we're doing. So WA Array and WAMT, and the Geoscience Data Transformation Program. They're two of the biggest projects that we're doing. We heard about both of those at the last Open Day, and there'll be talks again today, so I actually won't talk about those anymore. The other thing that we're doing through the latest assistance program from the government is create a new branch within GSWA of data scientists. So these are going to be the people that take our data and work with our geologists to create the new data sets of the future, integrate across scale. So these are the people who will help us integrate across the physical scale as well as the scale of the mineral system. And I look at these as being sort of top-down projects. So these are projects which actually directly impact you in terms of data, industry-ready packages that you can use and instantly use. But we also want to go from the bottom end upwards. And that leads me into talking about our new industry-ready graduate program. And so what we want to do here is we have ongoing indefinite funding to sponsor 3 students per year. In their first year, we will pay them to do either complete their honours, or if they're already doing their honours, we will pay them to do a Masters by Research program. And then in their second year, they come to GSWA for the whole year, and they sit with us, and they learn the things that we're doing. So we teach them geochronology, isotopes, geophysics, how data integration. We teach them about paleontology, carbon storage, mineral carbonation, structural mapping, core logging. So what we're trying to do is supercharge these students' skills before they come into industry. So we won't be keeping them. The idea is that we bring them in, we train them up, we kick them out the door, and that's when they come into the resources sector. So you should then be getting not only top-down information from us in terms of the data, but we're actually helping industry from the bottom up by producing over a number of years these really hyper, super skilled students who will come into your industry and say, actually, I know how to do that. I did that at GSWA. There's a whole data set that we're missing here. I know where to get it, and I know how to download it. I know how to manipulate it, and I know how to integrate it with the other data sets that we've got to produce better results. So that program is going to officially be open today. Applications will be open for 2 weeks, so from basically Monday the 17th through to the 4th of December, and we will be taking in 3 students in that program, and then hopefully, then in July we'll actually have the next financial year we have another 3 students to bring in, and so hopefully we'll be able to keep rolling that through. And if we were sympathetic with the Minister, we might even get a few more students per year as well. So that's really our future science plan. And I guess just to summarise, we want to continue to be leaders, not followers. We want to take these global challenges head on, and it's all about the team. So if your staff are happy and we're tightly coordinated and we're flexible and we're agile, we're actually able to step out of our comfort zone and do things that we've never done before. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. We are very excited about our industry-ready grad program, so please spread the word.